What's up, guys, and welcome to the Honesttattooer podcast. This week, we have a special guest. We have my homie Dutch in the building, and we're talking all about tattoos like we always do. Please, this week, support our Patreon, and let's get this show started. So we're so happy to have you. What up, Dutch?
Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to be here.
No, good to have you here, man. Yeah. And like always, my co-host, Matriano.
How you doing?
And this week, where the fuck is Gabe at? Anyways, but we have lovely Tabitha. What up?
Hi.
That's like a magic trick.
He grew tits.
This week, we wanted to do a different kind of episode. We just wanted to talk about tattoos and stories and things that come with them, man. So I thought, man, Dutch would be the great person to have here. So the people that don't know you, there's a camera for you, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Green light right there.
The screen light? Yeah.
How you doing? My name's Dutch. Tommy Two Wolves. You know, I actually did tattoo.
Oh, shit.
For like 20 years.
Oh, shit. I didn't know you tattooed for like 20 years
ago. Yeah. But I do all kinds of shit, man. It's really hard to pinpoint, man.
I mean, I know you modeled.
Lived all over the place. I've modeled. I do movies. I'm a fucking super. I'm a cooler. I just happen to fall into stuff, and I think it's due to just being open to taking a lot of risk.
So let's start off with this.
It could be like a mental thing.
When did you get your first tattoo?
My first tattoo when I was 12 years old.
12?
12,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I took a razor blade and some Indian ink, and I carved the dead Kennedy symbol into my arm.
That's so fucking
just
punk.
Poured it on there and had it.
Is it still there?
Second tattoo I got was a chest piece when I was 14 from this biker dude named Old Porker.
Porker.
Yeah, and he was like, you just got to get your mom to sign this permission slip. So I signed it and then went there. And yeah, I had a full chest piece. It was like the Germs.
What state was
logo.
this in?
This was in Arizona because we had relocated from here. My father moved out to Arizona.
Yeah.
And it was just outlaw shit out there, man. They did not give a fuck. But yeah, I remember I was in the 8th grade and I had a full chest piece.
Full chest piece.
Yes.
Oh, shit, dude.
What year was this?
1987.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
I was one.
Yeah. If you saw somebody with sleeves back then, they were a heavy dude.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yes.
was like, wow. And there was maybe one tattoo artist in the whole city.
You know what's funny? I was telling Triana, I was like, dude, I want to have somebody on the podcast that had tattoos before tattoos were like cool to the masses. Like, you know?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Like, you've had tattoos. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I think of like a badass tattooed dude, you're the kind of person that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think considering for the time and where I was at, I've always had a lot of tattoos, you know? I mean, now it wouldn't look like a lot in the 90s, but back in the 90s, it looked like I had a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
You know? I'm actually getting ready to go over all of them. My
Oh,
whole
shit.
body, yeah, with just some tribal stuff. But I'm going to do it to where you can actually still see the tattoos underneath.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the next frontier, okay?
So you want to do some like blast over tribal kind of stuff?
Yeah, real thin, but just gnarly. And it's like I was saying earlier, you know, you see a guy with sleeves, it was really heavy. Now, you know, you see the finance bro with sleeves at the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you see somebody with tattoos over tattoos, now that's heavy.
That guy's been around for a while.
Wow, bro. You got tats on
That's
tats.
like, fuck you, you know? So,
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's crazy, you know, because like just like you said, it could be like just a finance guy dude, you know, like fucking
McKay.
Shout out to my K,
yeah.
who's like fucking sleeved up, leg full of tattoos, you know. But like, you know, back in the day, you know, like that's why my mom didn't want me to get tattooed because she's like, I don't want them to think that you're like one of those like guys. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, you know, one of those dangerous guys. They're doing like.
You know what I'm thinking about right now? Go back to watching Full House, and Uncle Jesse had the one tattoo right there. He was a badass.
He was an outlaw. Yeah. And that's the thing is, if you had him, you probably were that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You didn't give a fuck.
No. They were job killers. They were, society just looked at you different. I mean, now, tattoos on your face, nobody looks at you different. I
No
remember
one
in
cares.
the early 90s, I was living on the Lower East Side. I was part of the whole squad scene, and these dudes were tattooing their face. And it was like people tripped the fuck out when they saw you.
Oh, yeah.
It was like you signed a contract that you're in it for life, and I remember I had my neck tattooed and hands and all of that, but I remember even in it was like the late 90s, I got my face tattooed. And I noticed the immediate reaction of people. It was different.
Yeah.
They looked at you different.
Yeah,
Treated
yeah.
you different, So it was a commitment for sure.
Oh, for sure. Nowadays, like, any young kid has a freaking face tat.
Yeah.
I feel like still
Looks like a
face
detention
tattoos-
school desk.
Face tattoos still draw a lot of attention, though.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. But they're more acceptable. Like, I think I get a lot of parts in movies just because
Yep.
I fill in that gap.
You're always the bad guy.
No.
No?
Like, that's the
surprising.
thing is I thought, I'm like, all right, I'll get typecasted as this. I get typecasted to, like, my actual life experiences, which is crazy. It's almost like the universe draws this role to me. you know? Whether I play a guy in recovery or I just did a movie with Jessica Chastain called Memory, and I'm like her friend in AA, helping her set everything up and hanging out with her, and so yeah, it's never like the thug bad dude. Like, I don't get those roles.
Oh shit.
Even though I look like one,
I'm like, I feel like you could be like, in a movie with Danny Trejo, and you guys are like, you guys show up into some dudes and you could just pound them down.
Oh, I could definitely
Tell
do that.
us.
Yeah.
Tell us what the boss wants to know.
Take him in the back and finish him off.
Yeah, I could see it.
That's more like my real life.
Or you could just be a chef, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Or
Chef.
yeah, there you go.
They all got tattoos, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, chefs are all tattooed up. It's crazy, like now, like, the things that people will associate tattoos with are completely different,
Oh,
like
100.
like when I go out to bars and shit like that, like people rarely say, "Are you a tattoo artist?" They'll say like things more of like, "Oh, are you like in a band or something like that?
Are you
like,
a barber?
Are you?
I get that a lot.
Are you a barber?"
Especially if I walk around, if I'm going to like the bodega with my apron on.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yo, can I get a haircut?
That was more like 10 years ago. If you had a lot of tattoos, they would always assume you were a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
not
yeah.
so much anymore.
Not so much
I never
anymore.
get that.
You could just be like, "Oh, that guy just likes tattoos." And usually, like, if I'm somewhere in like a bar, that's most likely what I'll say. I'm like, "I just like tattoos. I don't want to talk about tattoos right now."
No. God, that conversation. I mean, it's probably every day or close to it where somebody approaches you about your tattoos.
Yeah, if you're heavily
You know what I
tattooed, people
mean?
you're giving the green light for people to come and approach you and ask you about your tattoos.
Yeah. You just kind of like don't even think about it anymore when you answer those questions.
Do you find yourself still answering them, or do you have days when you're just like you ignore it? You're like, because I know like as a girl, and now that I have this blackout with the arm thing, it's like every 2 seconds, and
Yeah.
then it's like it's even more like even I was gonna say like even like as a woman walking down summertime, like, oh, I like your tats, man. Like you're like, you can't even see my tattoos, bro. But now it's like more with this, and at this point I just like ignore them. I'll straight up be like, stop talking to me.
I think it just draws more attention, and especially like it opens up a door for dudes to talk to a woman.
Yeah.
Nice tats, which is the corniest.
It's better than
ever.
nice tits.
Yeah. What else are they
It's a
gonna
little
say?
better.
Yo, I really like your hair.
Yeah, at this point. But what I was gonna say is, do you have days that you just like ignore it, or like do you like genuinely like stop and answer?
It's generally when it's dudes that start trying to describe what they want or why they don't have it or something, and I'm just like, I just don't want to have this conversation.
Lame.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, nice tats. And they like, you see that they go outside of themselves and they're presenting you like a false self, like a badass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you ain't got to do that, bro.
You ain't gotta
You know what I mean? Like, you ain't got to act that way to kick it.
And then
you
they
know?
start talking about all the tattoos that they plan on getting, which
Yeah.
they're not going
Yo,
to
I
get.
want like
Yeah.
a dolphin with like
Yeah.
Jesus praying hands right under it,
I mean-
and like a thorn crown.
We just described what everybody refers to as peacocking. It's it's literally that, and that's because like, I mean, no matter how you see it, I feel like when a dude is around another cool dude, right? There's something about us that just makes you want to get a little validation from the cool dude.
Oh, I think that's just human nature.
It is human nature. Yeah. It is the way that it is. You know what I'm saying? So like, when dudes are like out and they're like, oh man, like, if especially I feel like it's harder for dudes to approach other dudes to just be like, oh man, I love your fucking dude. You look hard as fuck. I love your tattoos. I've been thinking about blah, blah, blah. And they want you to be like, that's sick, bro. Yeah. They really want that little bit of
They want you to make them feel cool.
Yes.
That was my whole thing when I was tattooing and stuff was I wouldn't let a tattoo walk out the door. You know what I mean? So I would just make these dudes feel cool as fuck when they came in.
That's what I believe about that.
Their ideas, I'm like, dude, that's awesome, man. And they feel like they're a peer now. You know what I mean? And it was like, and they really want that validation, man. I mean, I get it, but, or you get it the other way where people just despise you because they think you're a cool guy and they're not. And they got thin skin and they're just like, this motherfucker, man, he gets it all.
They hate you real.
I remember, man.
He's good looking and he's got good son of a bitch.
Yo, I remember when I got sober like 20 years ago, I was going to 12-step meetings and stuff, and I walked in there and none of these guys would talk to me, and they were kind of like standoffish. And, time had passed and I made friends with these dudes. And the guy was like, yo, I fucking hated you when I first saw you. And I'm like, why? He was like, because you were covered in tattoos and you were good looking and you just get all the girls. I'm like, what kind of problems does this guy have?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like living in a fucking halfway house, dude. It's like, doing that. But yeah, it's a trip, man. People's perception on you, and they draw their own conclusions right away.
Always. Yeah.
I think that's just something that comes with age to dissolve that. You know what I mean? Where you don't draw a conclusion about somebody or who they are and what type of person they are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
As you get older. So, but yeah, I've been running this nightclub for the past 3 years. And
which one?
Pianos.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Awesome. Fuck yeah, dude. I love pianos.
Yeah.
That's right up the street, right?
Yeah. I'm like a cooler, so I get hired for weird shit. Like, all my jobs are usually like unique. Mm-hmm. It's not like there's a lot of job openings for that shit. So I got hired to come in and fix up a fucked up nightclub, like Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. like that's what I do. So I come in, I usually hang out for a week, and I don't tell anyone who I am. And I watch the security, I see what they're doing and who's fucking up and taking money, and then usually fire about 5 dudes right away. And then another 5 after the first week because they just can't stop, and kick out all the bad guys, like, I want to say bad guys, but separate gangster from hood. Yeah, because there is a difference. Most people can't see it. Hood is culture. Wants to have a good time, spend money, hang out with the lady. Gangster is easily intimidated, thin skin. Wants to intimidate. It usually takes like probably a year, maybe a little bit more, to straighten all that out and get those people out.
Man, working in nightlife, I always think it's such a crazy environment.
It is. Yeah, it's not good for the mental.
Yeah, man.
Balancing my spiritual life with my nightlife. I mean, you can do it most of the time if you're on it consciously. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the minute you slip back, that nightlife will take over. It will swallow you whole. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're just
waking up at 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah, 6 in the afternoon. Uh-huh. And you got, I think you got to have a certain level of PTSD to operate in that kind of chaos and be comfortable, you know? And and deal with that kind of shit. It's not something I ever wanted to do. I just kind of, like everything else,
It found you. It kind of fell
yeah.
onto it.
Yeah, and I was good at it, and I'm like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing now, you know. And it paid really well. So
One thing in common with people that work in nightlife is they're usually just really good with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that work nightlife jobs, like they're just really good with people, and they can maintain like a high level of energy when everybody else is down.
Yeah.
They're still there. They're still sharp. And they're still aware of everything that's going on. And I feel like I have a few friends that, like, you know, are promoters and nightclubs and things like that. And when I've seen them, they're like, oh, I'm about to go to work. And it's like midnight.
yeah,
And then I'm like, wow, dude, you're going to be on till like at least 4 or 5 in the morning, just on. Like, this is wild, dude. Like, at that time, I'm unwinding and I'm trying to turn off my brain. Your brain is still going.
oh, 100%, man. But you know, there's that would be a guy that's good at his job.
Yeah.
And you have the other ones that aren't, and they're assholes to everybody, and you know, constantly getting into it. You know, yeah, it was a tough job, man.
Yo, what up?
Hey, what up, Luke?
So
I work for Luke
So
too.
you work for Luke too. I was gonna say, shout out to Luke. What up, homie?
What up? I do private security over there for you know, Luke's NYC. He used to own all the round twos. He started that shit.
I know, yeah.
So he's like a legend in the resale industry. But great guy, man. You know, I didn't really need the job. I just wanted to. I liked hanging out with those guys.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I got you. You know,
Like,
what
yeah,
I
come
mean?
through, bro.
So yeah, but I need it now. So, but yeah, it's a interesting job, man. I mean, there's definitely a shelf life on it. I can't see myself doing it. You gotta you age out, and you gotta evolve out of it.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You stay in it too long, it's like staring into the abyss. It'll start to stare back at you.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we are products of our environment. You know,
I've always thought about this of like, you know, when you're a heavily tattooed person, what do you have? You know what I'm saying? Because there's like, you know, you have so many paths that you can take in your life. And it's like, you know, you can't, I'm lucky I'm a tattooer, so I'm just going to tattoo until I find something else or I stop tattooing, you know? But like overall, like, you know, like we were talking, like, oh, maybe like chefs are people that are very heavily tattooed and stuff like that, you know, but they wouldn't like pivot. And people that are in nightlife, you know, sometimes are very heavily tattooed, but like when you choose to switch paths, you know, it's like, it's not as easy as it is for people that aren't heavily tattooed.
Fuck no.
Your choices are limited.
No.
I think I said it once before. I don't know if I said it on the podcast or just privately with you, but I wanted to get someone on the show who is retired from tattooing.
Yeah.
To kind of figure out what they do now, and this is it right here.
Yeah, right here.
You know, you know, I know some other people that had experienced this. I talked to some great legends like Dan Higgs, you know, and even Don Ed Hardy went through the same thing that I went through. Dan went through it really hard. He never tattooed again. You know, I'm kind of a sensitive person, and it was the energy. It was like being on 6 or 7 people a day or 1 or 2. It didn't really matter. You know what I mean? It was sucking me dry.
Yeah.
And it just got to that point. And I remember Ed Hardy saying about putting a bubble around himself, you know, before he went in. And I did that, and it would work for a little bit, but it didn't matter if these were good clients or shitty clients.
Yeah.
I would get off work and just be stressed out, angry, and just feel totally drained. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point to where I hated what I was doing.
Yep.
And I've always loved art. It's my life, you know. And I never thought I'd be at that point. And I felt like when you're doing that, you will disrespect the craft, you know, and it's time to step out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I didn't want to disrespect the craft and completely, I've seen people like that, you know what I mean? And I didn't want their lives, you know, and I definitely didn't want it to be mine. So I just kind of unconsciously stepped away, you know. I started doing piercings, you know, I went from tattooing, having a lot of clients are like, what the fuck are you doing piercings, man? I'm like, look, man, like, it's a couple minutes with somebody. You know what I mean? But even then it started to, same thing. But that was right when piercings were coming back, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I was making more money than most tattoo artists doing piercings, you know. But I had to step away, man. And you know, I've been feeling like tattooing again recently.
Yeah.
You know, I just had to kind of get reinvented and get some stuff out and go at it brand new.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I remember talking to Dan Higgs, and he was like, I'd rather wash dishes than ever touch another tattoo machine again.
Damn, that's heavy.
I know. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I couldn't get my head around it. Like, why would he do
like,
that?
Why?
Like, he's like a legend.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, tattooing traditional stuff looks the way it looks, that crazy, you know,
I know, super trippy stuff. Yeah. This stuff is wild, yeah.
And, you know, I started to understand why. But I didn't want to get that far, you know. So I stepped away. Yeah. And it's like, you know, being in your mid-40s and trying to figure out what to do with your life when you've been tattooing most of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
it's a change.
Yeah, the world's a different place, man. Everybody's in tech, everybody's in this stuff, and I don't know anything about that, you know. So I could barely work my iPhone, man.
Man, I think it's it's an interesting time in tattooing because so much has changed in the last 10 years, I feel like, of tattooing.
Crazy.
Very quickly. Like, very, very quickly. Like, a lot has changed in tattooing. It's one of those things where, like, if you fought it for a very long time that things were changing, and then you're looking at it now, it's like, wow, things have changed so much. If you try to adjust now to it, like, it's difficult. Because it's, like, a huge change. You didn't gradually change with it. If you fought the moment, and you fought, like, even something as simple as like when everybody started using an iPad to start drawing their designs and you decided to not adopt that at all. Trust me, now you're probably feeling it because there's people out there cranking out a drawing in a quarter of the time that you can.
Yeah.
They're
possible. Just more productive.
You just got to do it. 'Cause I remember going back to what Dutch was talking about. I was an apprentice for like hella long and I had so many other jobs. It was hard for me to be at the shop and focus, so I eventually just quit. And when I quit, I was working for Puma and Sassy from Black Ink, and we were like recording and shit. But I quit and I became a chef for 5 years. And while I was doing the chef shit, I was a dancer. So I would sleep for like 3 hours and wake up at 4:30 to do brunch and then go dance again. Yeah. And then COVID hit and I hit that thing like, shit, I have all these tattoos. I'm like 30 something. I'm by myself. What can I do? Like, what job can I get? I don't want to do retail. Luckily, John hit me up and he's like, hey, I know you've been gone, but like, I need a piercer. What's going on? Yeah, I wasn't even piercing. I was just sitting at home collecting the fucking check and prepping meals, like driving prepped meals to people. And I came back and I had to pick up the iPad. I remember you told me to buy the Nova?
Oh, the wireless tattoo machine.
The wireless tattoo machine.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, man.
So,
no more coils.
I was using coils. So, like, with my apprenticeship and, my little, like, beginner stuff, I was using all coils. And I've only been back for 2 years, and I just started using the Nova and the iPad. And now I'm just like kind of gravitating more to piercings because it's in and out and I'm making just as much money as everybody else. But that switch in your brain and that switch in like your everyday life from like this to that, it's like, it's a crazy impact. And it's like, at first you're like, oh, I don't know, it might be hard, but like it's fucking possible.
Yeah, totally. I mean, as human beings, man, we will adapt or die,
Yes.
And so we will adapt, but so much has changed as far as the principles and like the code. Like, I mean, you remember when you learned how to tattoo. I mean, my apprenticeship was 3 fucking years, man. And they broke me down and made sure I was good at everything, and this put me through it. And now you have all these tattoo artists now that do kind of stick and poker. They never had an apprenticeship. They tattoo from home. Like, all these things that wasn't cool back then is okay now.
Okay now.
Yeah. And it's like mind-blowing. I look at those guys, though. No, it's not. I mean, like, I look at those guys who are booked out, and they do, like, stick figures and stuff. And I'm like, all right, but I don't consider you an equal as a tattoo artist.
Right. Oh man,
Like,
that's
you're somebody that doodles with the machine.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And people like it.
Yeah. Blows my fucking mind,
People
man.
like it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Like, I there's something about a shitty tattoo I like. You know, usually when it's on me, an old one that I got that's, you know, whatever. But that was on accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
only going out to get them. But it's like the amount of stuff that we had to go through. Like I said again, I feel like it disrespects the craft, you know. But there's so much of that now. Like, I rarely meet a tattoo artist that works in a shop and is actually good in all areas.
Yeah,
You know?
that's rare.
Yeah, and everything's like pneumatic machines. There's no more coils and stuff, which I always used I used the rotary machine, you know, a lot for like shading and stuff, but I never lined with it because it just fucking pounds.
Well, the crazy
you
thing
know?
is like rotary machines were actually the first tattoo machines.
Yeah.
Then we figured out the coils work better. So then we switched to coils. And then due to technologies advancing and different kind of motors being, you know, made and invented, once like the brushless motors, which are the ones that created those tattoo machines that are like this big, you know, it's because it's a different kind of motor. It's a brushless motor. And once these motors were invented, then we were able to condense the way that like, you know, a machine works to so much smaller. And then with a combination of just software and all that stuff, we're being able to like make machines that just are rotaries that function and feel a little bit more like a coil machine. I don't feel like they've reached a point where they're perfect there, but I mean, when you think about a Dan Kubin, like fuck, that's as close as you can get to have like a coil feel with a rotary machine and have it feel just right. You know, like Triano just got, you know, Dan Kubin rotary that is
46er.
Yeah, the 46er, which works with a battery, so it is wireless and it feels really good. It just freaking just feels just right. It has the punchiness where you want it. It has all these things. So I feel like as technology moves forward, you have to adopt it.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, and then shift and change with it. Because like sometimes like
I'm all for it.
You got
machines.
to.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I mean, we used to do so much crazy ass shit to get our coils to convert energy properly. I remember I used to have 2 boat batteries underneath my fucking station with plugged in, running to the boat batteries, and then running into my power supply.
Bro.
So everything was converted
I need
already.
that
and it
clean
was like
power.
Pure, so
I
there
need
was
clean, smooth power so my machines run smooth. Like all that
now
shit
you just
is
get
like
a machine
crazy.
with it.
Yeah, now a battery gives you the most consistent fucking power you can get.
So I want to give a little history lesson right here. I just typed this in Google to find out when each type of machine was invented. The coil machine invented by Tom Riley in 1891. The rotary machine was invented in 1876.
1891 and it was 1876. Yeah,
The rotary
so
was first.
Yeah,
it was first. Yeah, and I think like having these new machines, new equipment, like the ease of use, like, you know, to get a coil machine to work just right was fucking hard.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as like your rubber band has too much tension. That's why it doesn't work.
They're getting old. They're starting to crack. Like, I remember I would come in like towards the end of my apprenticeship and I was having appointments and stuff. And I would pull up and my teacher would have my machine in pieces.
Yeah. I've had
And
that.
he's like, all right, put it back together, man, or you got to cancel your appointment. I'm like, fuck.
You're
You know, like,
flashbacks of that moment.
and it was like,
oh
you
look, I
know,
got this new machine, and then the next day you show up, shit is in
tuning
pieces,
it,
bro.
and it's like
In a paper cup.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
You constantly had to tune it, scrape off the fucking, you know.
You know what? I never
build up
realized
and-
this. I just watched, after buying this machine from Dan Kubin, I watched his videos on how to adjust and how to tune everything. The placement of where the rubber band sits on the needle bar makes a huge difference.
For sure.
I never
You're
knew
like,
that.
what?
Yeah,
Never even thought of that.
absolutely.
You're like, it does.
Never thought of that.
It does.
Yeah,
It's like,
I would always just move it around until it felt right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that goes like, well, this is my experience with coils is to the machine. You know what I mean? But God, I was so bad at changing the rubber bands, man. You know what I mean? Or
So-
buying new ones after I have these ones sitting here for 6 months.
Yeah, that's some OG
Fucking
shit that, like, you know, like there's so many things like from back in the day tattooing that if you told anybody now, you know, they would lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
one of the people that I learned to tattoo from, you know, like Adam Kaplan, shout out to Big Joe's, bro. There were things that he's like, oh man, he used to call me Fuego, and he'd be like, oh, Fuego. Back in the day, man, we'd make a needle, and if that needle was good, you just sterilize that thing and fucking use it again. And like, man, by like that 5th, the 10th time that you've been using that needle, sterilizing that shit, that's when it got real good.
Oh no.
And
Dude.
you're like, what? You know, that sounds crazy, but he also started tattooing at a time where gloves were not a thing.
No, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he started tattooing, you know, late 70s, early 80s type of thing. And it was like, dude, gloves just weren't a thing. When you watch videos of people just fucking palming people, just
They still weren't using gloves up to the fucking, 93 and shit, man. You had the holdouts. If you look at any old pictures of Sailor Jerry, man, his hands are just covered in ink.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Bob Shaw, his son, take off his glove and his rings and put his hand in the ultrasound, grab the thing, and like, put it back together, you know, and
shit.
like,
Gross.
you know. But I remember dudes, they would cook their needles in the oven or sit there with a fucking lighter. I remember I got tattooed by this SA dude, and he's got a lighter on the needle. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, sterilizing it.
like, what? Meanwhile, the needle just keeps opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
About
just
this
like-
big open now. It's like,
Getting
bruh.
tattooed with a fishing hook, man.
Shit, man.
So, when did you start tattooing?
Well, I started tattooing in the mid-90s on my own, you know.
Here in New York?
Yeah, here in New York. I lived all over the place, man. I'm from here. I'm mostly always here. It's just home base, but I've lived in pretty much most major cities and some places you just stop to take a shit at, you know. And then I really picked up tattooing. I count from when I got my apprenticeship because that's when I was a real tattoo artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just fucked a lot of people up before. Yeah, but I was good at fucking them up. You know what I mean? Like,
So your apprenticeship was in the mid-90s?
no, it was in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I started it. And then I was living in New Orleans, and then Katrina hit, and I ended up out in Austin, Texas, refugeed out there, you know. And everything just kept bringing me back to the right people. It was almost like it's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I met up with my friend Roger and Tina, who owned No Regret, and or I'm sorry, Resurrection Tattoo, and they apprenticed me. Did half my apprenticeship with them, and then I ended up over at Atomic Tattoo, which is the oldest shop in Austin.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, well, them in Perfection, you know, where Dan Higgs worked, and Chris Trevino, and I mean, just craziest fucking tattoo artist in the world. And I finished it out with a dude named Craig Sheets. And me, I was all about traditional at that time. And he was more like a realism type guy. And we would fucking get into it all the time. you know, he's
great.
like, whip shading's bad for the skin. I'm like, no, it's not, you know. And I have no, you know, he's the pro, you know, and I'm arguing with him. But
Things haven't changed.
No.
yeah, no. So I finished it out with him, and and then just hit the ground running, man, and just everything, ate, shit, slept, tattoos. You know, that's all I did.
I feel like in the beginning, that's all you need to do.
I think
There-
that's, you know, I would
that's
see
sanity.
Jason Brooks, right? I would talk to Jason Brooks, Tony Hundle. Tony Hundle did my whole front,
Oh.
and Jason every night still draws, even if it's not for a tattoo he has.
It's exercise.
Yeah, it's like you just put your head down, and that's why these guys got so good, is because they just kept
Yeah.
moving forward. They still kept painting every night, getting better. Any professional musician I know, they play their instrument at least an hour or two every day. you know, just to get better at it. That's the same with tattooing. I mean, you guys know how many people we know that just, they got to a certain level in tattooing and they never grew past it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just like totally uninterested with, you know, learning anything new. And
why,
you know,
is that?
I think
Why is that? I always try to figure, like, why is that? Just because, like, you know, I've been tattooing for 16 years, and I'd say, you know, there's been points in my career where I do feel down, where I feel a little like, man, like I'm not excited. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Where
absolutely.
I'm not excited about my work, where I'm not excited about where, you know, and I feel like that's the moment where it's like you have to go back to what you're talking about of like, I need to draw.
Basics.
I need to see, go back to basics, go back to doing studies, go back to doing things that are going to be like, man, what excites me? What gets me inspired? What gets me going? You know, and, you know, like I've seen tattooers that have changed their styles completely. Like people that did like realism and then 2 years later, 3 years later, they're like, their whole Instagram deleted. They have a whole new style of work that they're pushing. And because this new thing that they're pursuing is what got them back to be excited about tattooing. Because whatever it is that they were doing before grew monotonous and it grew just boring, you know? And if you have to reinvent yourself, just fucking do it, man. Like there's nobody stopping you but you.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's okay to do that. You can do that. Like I went from a traditional guy to black and gray, like just kind of cholo style stuff because I really liked using black and gray. You know, like I could play with it. It just came so natural, and I loved the way it looked. I mean, black is carbon based, so is skin. It just, you know, it got me.
Yeah.
So I completely switched to that, you know, towards the end. And, I think you need to, man. In any craft that you do, you're going to hit those low points. That's normal.
I think that's normal. Like, you know, I feel like
I think it's necessary.
it is necessary. I think it's like almost like if you've had a favorite band, you know, and they have that one weird album, and you're like,
Yeah.
what is this? And you're like, you know what? That's the one that they needed to do at that moment in their career.
Yeah.
Because they were feeling however, and they needed to put that out. And sometimes the next album after that is the better one. You're like, oh shit, they just needed to go through that little experimental phase because they're trying to find a new sound, but they don't know what that is, and you need that in between.
Yeah,
you know?
Sandinista from The Clash. Like, you know, that's the funny thing too. It's like you'll listen to that weird album and that shit, and like, what the fuck is this? And put it away, and then pull it back out 3 years later.
And you're like, this shit's amazing.
It's good.
Like you just weren't ready for it at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like, you know, I think there's a lot of things. It's funny. A lot of things that I ended up liking and loving were things that I dissed on back in the past. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I want to track back to something that like we were talking about earlier about like nowadays there's tattoos that are being done that are technically shit
Oh, absolutely.
by far.
I ain't even afraid to
They're
say
technically bullshit.
Yeah.
Crappy, uninteresting, bad. At least in my
I wouldn't say they're uninteresting. They're definitely
okay.
interesting.
So maybe they're interesting.
interesting.
They're not. They're. I guess it's just the eye of the beholder, right? I'm looking at it from a very technical standpoint and all these things, and then you'll show it to somebody that is not looking at it from a technical standing at all, and they're just like, "Is this visually interesting?" And they're like, "I like it. This is cool. It's weird. Creates an emotion, creates some kind of feeling," and they go, "Pup, pup. I like it."
They want to get tattooed.
Yeah, and those are and these guys, dude, these are the tattoos that I'm talking about that you see on your fucking Instagram Explore page for whatever reason has like fucking 4,000 likes, and you're like, this is garbage.
You know what it is?
Total
It's the
garbage.
modern artist of the tattoo world.
Yes.
It's like they're breaking all the rules. Doesn't matter how good it is, how like technically sound it is. They're making art for the sake of emotion, for the sake of, you know, look at what I could do, I guess.
This is what I can do.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, 10 years from now, these people that are getting these tattoos are going to be like, what the fuck have I done? Or get them covered up.
I agree.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, it's like something you'll definitely outgrow because it's bad and it's not timeless.
It's not timeless.
It's not timeless, man. It will not stand the test of time and scrutiny. Like I'll see, I go to this cafe and it's like, oh, look at what, you know, she did. It's baristas tattooing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just like trash. You see blowouts and just lines aren't even straight, you know, but the reason it gets to me is it's kind of insulting. You know what I mean? Having had to go through what we went through to learn how to tattoo and even be able to get in the position to get an apprenticeship. Like, that was difficult, man.
And you took the words right out of my mouth.
They
As I said that
fucking
too. It's
picked
insulting.
you, and it was like an honor, you know? And it was like, you know, people are going around trying to get an apprenticeship, and then you get one, and then you literally eat shit with these people for a couple years. They reinvent you. They become your brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? And they give you a gift, you know? They teach you how to actually be a tattoo artist, you know? So to see these fucking dickwads out here doing this shit, I'm like, you ain't my equal. Like, you're not a tattoo artist. You're just somebody that draws on people's skin. You know what I mean?
Very
It's not-
different.
Very different.
Very,
You're not
very
an
different.
artist.
But,
you know?
like, that's the kind of part of this whole thing where, you know, nowadays the validation that you can get through thousands and thousands of strangers on the internet will overpower the validation that you would get by getting it from a small group of respected peers.
Yeah. It makes it acceptable.
It makes it
Okay.
acceptable. It's like, you know, I could
And we're these bitchy, whiny, fucking
Yeah.
old tattoo
people,
artists.
yeah.
Like, fucking these guys, you know?
exactly. But
So Dutch isn't even a tattooer anymore. I guaranteed you're going to be labeled a gatekeeper.
Oh, that's fine.
you're a fucking gatekeeper.
Go ahead.
Oh man. But it's like it's true, you know, but it's like, you know, there's like a certain amount of like craft in tattooing, and there's a big part where people just consider it a product, you know, just like a product that people make. And it's like, you know what? Well, this is what I like, so it's fine. There's truth to that. I agree. You know, if that's what you like and you're willing to pay for it and you give it a price and people are willing to pay that price, you got a successful product, man.
You know what's a hard question to answer is when people are like, but it's just art. Like, who cares? Why are there so many rules to it? It's just art.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, how do you answer that?
Because art is,
Subjective.
it's sustenance. Like, it's necessary. And it's like, when you know how to do it and you're offering, you know, good, legitimate art to people, you know what I mean? It's not just art. Like, it's deep, it has meaning. You know, it fills voids. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, man. I remember Tony Hundle used to always talk about, we're like barbers, you know. Somebody comes in with the tattoo, you do it, you know. Figure out how to do it to where they like it, but do it. You know what I mean? Don't be all picky and choosy, you know. We see a lot of middle-of-the-road tattoo artists. They're the ones that are like bell musicians and shit, like have the biggest egos. You know, you see the guys that were like really good at it, you know, and they're like totally cool and humble dudes, you know, and these guys that were just, they were good, but they weren't great. You know what I mean? Would just talk shit on everybody and, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't do that. That's like a waste of my time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's
100%.
like,
It still exists.
yeah, no, it'll never
It's-
change.
yeah, it's still the same way.
You know, and, yeah, and it's like, just do the fucking tattoo, man. Like,
Yeah.
invents this. You're also a salesman. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So, like, figure something out with this client of where they can be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're coming to you.
I think
Like,
ultimately
don't try to make yourself happy.
making
you
a
know?
tattoo is making a permanent mark on someone that person enjoys.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Dude.
And
Like,
there's-
it ain't making art, you know? Just think about it. It's just making a permanent mark on someone and they like it. And they're like, this is exactly what I was looking for. It doesn't even have to be like, there's no technical anything to that. It's just like you made a permanent mark. It's like a tattoo is just, you know, when you think about like the freaking cavemen that they found with like fucking thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
the Icemen people, like, dude, they just had marks on them.
Yeah.
That was, and we consider that tattoos.
Yeah.
You know, because permanent on them. So like that's good enough. Is it high quality? Is it not? That's all so relative, to people. Like we as tattooers and as people that have been in the craft for a long time know what's like a high quality, well done tattoo, given certain parameters. But ultimately, the person puts its value of like, I love this, even if it's shitty to me. They can say they fucking love it and they're proud to wear it.
Absolutely. Yeah, what I thought was a good tattoo back in the day was not a fucking good tattoo. And I'd be like, this is fucking awesome, because I didn't know what a good tattoo was.
Yeah, same. I've been there.
And it just came with time and experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, okay, the tattooers back in the day, like, the ones in villages and the OGs,
Like tut.
yeah, like that. Do you think they had this like little quarrel, like, oh, the new school ones are like trying to take over, or like, do you think they had the certain standards and stuff as well, or were they just like anybody could do it, or like
You're using boar bone, man. We use raccoon bone.
You son of a bitch. You're supposed to be using porcupine quills.
Yeah, bro.
like.
I think it was more of a spiritual thing and like a rite of passage with them than like an image thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, okay, you're a man now. Get this, and stuff like that. And I think only like some shit I read is only like, I guess kind of like a shaman person could do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And that right there separates, it's just art.
Yeah.
You know what I
Still
mean?
art.
Going back to people like you draw on paper, you draw on canvas, or you do like a well done tattoo that's gonna stick and it's gonna last. And I feel like that's kind of like the unconscious like basis as to like we have like these kids that are just like stick and poke and little baristas doing whatever the fuck they want. And like the OGs are like, dude, this is sacred. This is like an art form. Like this is like what's. And I feel like that's kind of what separates it's art, and art is subjective. Like it's tattooing, it's on somebody's body, it's sacred, it came from something that meant something.
Yeah. And it's dirty as fuck.
Man.
I've seen people getting wiped down with fucking washcloths.
Gross.
That's OG shit. Like, I've had stories from like, Adam told me this story. Back to my homie, and like he told me when he got his first tattoo, he went to, I think they were called the Moskowitz brothers, and I feel like they were in Queens.
Why do I know
somewhere.
that name?
And it was basically these two brothers. One would do the outline, and the other one would do the shading.
Wasn't Bowery Stan Moskowitz?
Was he Moskowitz?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
One would do the outline and one would do the shading.
And the other one do the
That's
shading,
sick.
and that's how they worked. And yeah, the whole idea was like they had like a fucking
System.
like a pine sol bucket. You know what I'm saying? With a rag, and
Yeah.
that's back before they were using gloves or any of that shit. They were like, oh yeah, man, you're next. Pine sol bucket, wipe you down. All right, cool, you're ready. It's party, bro.
That sounds so familiar, that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. I'm almost 100% positive that was Bowery Stan.
Yeah, and it's like like the Moskowitz brothers, and it's like that was how you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bowery Stan Moskowitz. Yep.
Yes.
Did you see the book Clayton Patterson just did?
No, but somebody brought this up to me just a couple of days
Oh
ago.
yeah, he gave me a copy, man, and signed it. It's all history of New York tattooing.
Oh, sick.
The first shops. I mean, he's got pictures of everybody in it. I'll bring it by for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be
It's
awesome.
incredible, man. And it's got all the players in it, man. Spiderweb.
All the OGs.
And even more that I never even fucking heard of.
Yeah.
A lot of it on the Bowery. Even before there were shops, it was almost like a speakeasy style tattoo shops.
Yes.
Where there's no advertisement. You just went up there and there's a dude, got everything set up.
Yeah, I mean, during that time that tattooing was illegal in New York City, that's how a lot of people were getting by still tattooing. It was like really secretive, underground shops. You go to a phone booth. There used to be ads on the Village Voice, and most people don't even know what the fuck the Village Voice is, but it was like a free publication. Yeah, free newspaper in New York City. There were ads there about getting tattooed, but not directly, clearly like that. But they would tell you to go somewhere, make a call from this certain phone booth, and then they would come get you from there and take you to the shop.
Yeah, it's like a fucking drug deal.
Basically,
That's
like a
crazy,
drug
man.
deal.
I just got aged. You're like, people don't even know what the Village Voice is anymore. I'm like, what?
You're like,
Oh,
what?
like I remember one summer I was trying to look for a job. My mom's like, grab the Village Voice. And I grabbed the Village Voice and I looked in the back of the fucking thing to try to look for like a receptionist job. And I was walking up and down fucking Manhattan just trying to drop my resume off anywhere.
Yeah, there was everything in the Village Voice. It would tell you where all the punk shows were and all the shit that was going down you wouldn't read in the regular newspaper in New York City.
Yeah.
Wait, so they don't have that in? Oh, they have like Instagram now. What?
Yes, everything that existed is now on your phone.
Yeah,
I'm a
there's
suburban
no
boy.
paper.
I'd never heard of the Village Voice until today.
Voice until today.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah. Kind of like New York City kind of paper.
Yeah, you could just grab one like at those little like plastic things. It's free and you
Yeah,
just
they're
open
free.
it
nowhere. I don't see. I don't know. I've never seen one of these plastic things with free papers inside.
in a minute, right?
Yeah.
I still fuck with newspaper though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like it.
I bet it's.
I
Just
like reading the
nostalgic.
paper. Yeah, you get fucking ink all over your hands and like it smells like.
Smells good.
So I'll go over here to, shout out to Optimum Deli, and I get the paper, and it's so fucking crazy. You know, it'll have like whatever, cop beats 3 to death, and
Like the craziest fucking headlines
Yeah.
to grab
Yeah.
people.
Trump's in town, fuck him. Like it'll just be like this crazy shit, and they're all Arab dudes, and they're like, it's all lies. I'm like, I know, but.
Shout out to Sal.
Yeah, it's interesting when I'm taking a shit, drinking my coffee,
The only time that I read the actual paper is when I get my hair cut.
Oh shit.
Because it's like an old school like gentleman's barber shop.
And they
like,
have the
everything's
paper
all
there?
mahogany wood and everything.
Yeah.
You walk in, they're like, "Can I get you a drink?"
Oh.
Yeah, it's cool. And then
Damn.
while I'm waiting for my barber to free up, I'm sitting there reading the paper. I'm like, yeah, I feel like an old school gentleman right
I
now.
feel like it.
Yeah, yo, when I was a kid, it was all Playboys and stuff
they
like
got
that.
Classic guy.
You wouldn't see Playboys anywhere else because it was like so taboo. Like that shit was dirty, But you go to the barber shop, it'd be tucked behind and you see all these dudes reading Playboys, or not reading, but
All right, let's wrap this up.
All right.
Before we close off, there's a few things I wanted to say. So you were talking about Dan Higgs before, and I found this quote by him that's actually really, really cool that I think applies to pretty much everything that we've ever talked about over here. He was interviewed by Ed Hardy.
Oh shit, cool.
And in this interview, he has a quote over here that says, "Traditional tattooing doesn't mean staying stuck in the past. It means nurturing something that came way before you because you deeply hope it will continue after you. It's about being in the middle, not being in the end."
I always looked at traditional tattooing as a style of tattooing, right? So what a lot of people will think of as traditional tattooing is they think of a Sailor Jerry piece. And they're like, I don't like that. And I'm like, well, that's just what they did back then. If you look at my whole front, this wolf, it's done traditional, but it doesn't look anything like that. It's the line work, the style of shading, and that, it's got room to grow, and become something different, So, yeah, that's interesting.
So that was pretty cool.
Amen.
Well, fuck.
He's a
man.
heavy dude, man.
Yeah.
Dan Higgs.
I think you dropped some really, really good names of tattooers, guys. And if you're a young tattooer and you're listening to this, definitely do your research about Dan Higgs. If you don't know who Ed Hardy is, who the fuck are you, bro? Let's find out who Ed
He's got some
Hardy
really
is.
cool shirts. What are you talking about?
I got an Ed Hardy hat.
Yeah. If you like Japanese tattooing, you need to go see who Chris Trevino is.
100.
If you like really awesome, traditional or Tony Honda, fucking incredible. There's so many amazing tattooers that have come before all of the people that you could probably just name off the top of your head right now that are, people that inspired people like me, that, people like fucking Dutch, who's tattooed for 20 years. And, we got inspired by all these people, and these people do amazing work and things that will inspire you. And I feel like if you want to keep pushing your work towards, like Matt said, don't get so caught up on the past. learn from the past, but figure out a way to push it in the future towards a good direction. Because there's too much tattooing, I think, at this point right now where it's like, I don't know, man. It feels like kind of the music that's being put out nowadays, where it lacks some soul.
Substance?
It just lacks substance. Like, it's being made because it's popular. If we can think about tattooing in that way, where it's like, man, there's a lot of people that are going to be doing a lot of popular tats right there, but not necessarily things that are timeless. Figure out what's timeless, apply it to what you want to create, and find that middle ground. And I feel like that's a great point in tattooing to be.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Applause.
Right on.
Right on, guys. And I don't think I have much to say.
Oh, I got something to say. So we got a Patreon that we would love you to help support the show. If you go to patreon.com/Honesttattooer, you can help support the show. There's got additional content on there. And this week, we got a couple of new supporters, and I'd like to give them a shout out. So we got Alexandra Mazurik, Tiffany Dodson, and Eno.1. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really, really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, guys. All of your support really means a lot to us, not just in the money, but also in just our morale, man. Like, if we know that you guys love our shows, and I appreciate every message that I get, every DM, when you guys tell me that, like, hey, guys, like, you guys are doing great. Like, what you're doing is really adding a lot of value to my fucking tattoo career and what I'm doing, or I'm just feeling entertained, man, that really motivates us to keep going and keep pursuing this kind of just thing that we started because we like it. And we love to talk about tattooing because we love it. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
And Dutch, thank you so much for coming through and talking with us this week, because it's been so great having you, dude.
My
Thanks for
pleasure,
coming.
man. My pleasure. Thank
And
you guys
if
for
people want to
having
know
me.
more about you and where to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, go find me at Tommy_2_wolves. Tommy 2 Wolves on Instagram. I mean, I'm on TikTok and shit, but I don't really.
I mean,
yeah,
just walk
find me
around
on
the Lower East
Instagram.
Side. You'll
Up
see.
and
Oh no, you'll see me down
Up
here,
and down
man.
Lower East Side with Rocco.
I'm the mayor of the Lower East Side, so
I was really hoping you were going
Yeah.
to bring your dog with you today.
Samesies.
I was going to, man, but I just,
I guess you got to come back, bro. I guess we got to
I'll
have you
bring him
come back.
He's always with me, so.
Rocco.
Cool.
Yeah, man. And what days are you at piano, so we know, and we'll come. bother
I
you.
actually just left there like 3 weeks ago.
Oh shit! Shit! Yeah.
So I'm just doing like some consulting right now, what the fuck am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm doing consulting, and I'm getting ready to start at another club. I can't say which club yet, but it's a new club related to a badass club here, over on Christie Street.
Killer.
Looks like a box. And yeah, I got surgery coming up, so I can't start.
Oh shit!
Like another 6 weeks or something. So
Fuck,
yeah.
man.
But it's all good. Yeah, I'm enjoying the time off, honestly. So.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming through today, man. Talking with us.
All right, thanks, John. I appreciate you.